This is News Talk 1590 KVTA. I'm Lynn Fairley. Welcome back to the Lynn Fairley and Fabulous Friend Show. I'm going to talk to you today about, we are going to talk to you today about the best buck for your entertainment, the best entertainment buck around in the entire county, actually, because half the time it's free and it's also family fun and it's really, really, I don't know, it's just so exciting. And I just went there myself this last weekend and I'm about to tell you about it. And so is my guest, Jeff Sharaga. Welcome very much to the Lynn Fairley and Fabulous Friend Show.
Thanks for having me.
Boy, I'm overexcited. And he picked this song. This is his Get Up and Go song. So, the lyrics of the song couldn't be better for this. Show me where to look and what will I find? Well, all you have to do is you have to drive up the 101 North. And you get off, let's see, going north, you're going to get off, Summerland's too late.
Santa Claus Lane.
Santa Claus Lane. Oh, you can't forget that. So,
No.
You remember Santa Claus, and you get yourself to the Santa Barbara Polo Fields. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history before Jeff tells you all the rest of it, because he's been in polo his whole life. All right, from the start of polo in Santa Barbara, the sport was peripatetic. From 1899 until it found a permanent home in 1926, that's how long it's been there, at the current location in Carpinteria. Polo in Santa Barbara has a long heritage, starting on April 27th, 1894, when an exhibition match was played at the Agricultural Parks Flower Festival, which is now the location of the Lower East Side between the freeway and East Beach. It used to be like a flower festival there. This match encouraged sufficient local interest in the sport, and the first organized polo game in Santa Barbara was played, first organized one, on May 19th, 1899, by a team formed of members of the Santa Barbara Country Club. By 1902, the fledgling polo club boasted a 40-member roster, and interest in the sport had increased tremendously. The first purpose-built skin polo field, now that's dirt, at that time was just dirt, was in 1901 on the west side at the foot of the mesa. Wow, that's way up there in Santa Barbara, where the players leased about 22 acres. It was not until 1916 that the first grass field was built on Middle Road in Montecito, and where on April 1st, 4 women made their first appearance in a mixed polo period. Yep, on March 27, 1931, the Girls' Championship of Santa Barbara was played on Fleischman Field. It is significant that this particular game was included in the United States Polo Association's yearbook, as this mention is perhaps the first acknowledgement by the USPA that the women played polo in the United States at all. By 1932, many women in California were forming their own polo teams. By 1932, local player Ann Gavitt Jackson of the Palmer Jackson family had a team in Santa Barbara. Dorothy Wheeler of Santa Cruz wrote to the USPA in New York for some help in organization, and the secretary-treasurer replied that the general opinion was that, quote, polo is not a women's game, end quote. The women in California knew that this was nonsense and successfully formed their own organization. Today, along with many other decades of contemporary women players who have closed the gender gap on the field, there are 2 women patrons currently, Lee Breachin, did I say
Burkeen.
that? Burkeen, and Dawn Jones on the club's board of directors right now. And nationwide, women's polo is the fastest growing sector in the game. Isn't that cool? So tell us a little bit, Jeff Sharaga, my guest, about there's a woman who unfortunately died at a young age, Sunny Hale.
Yeah, Sunny Hale just passed away a few months ago, unfortunately, rest in peace. But she is widely considered the greatest woman player of all time. I believe it's the Outback team. She won the U.S. Open. She's the only female pro to ever win the U.S. Open. And, it is a sport both men and women can play together. So that's like, Candace Parker going on to the Warriors and winning or something like that. I think that's pretty pretty amazing.
That
to
is
consider.
really amazing.
But,
and she died at a young age. She was born in
Yeah.
1968 and is legendary, actually. And was she from here originally? Tell us about her
I
mother
believe
a
she's
little
from
bit.
California. I'm sorry, I don't know the whole history of Sunny Hale, but her mother was really important in women's polo too. I believe in the 70s it was Sue Sally Hale who would dress up like a man
She wore a
just to
mustache,
play
I think.
polo.
Yeah.
She'd put a mustache on. She'd have to tie her boobs down, and she'd go out there and pretend she was a man, and then everyone accepted that. And she really was one of the. And it's funny you were saying that women were playing in the 30s, but what I know is that in the 70s is really when women's polo got its start, and she's considered one of the pioneers of that. And she was famous for playing on a mule.
A mule?
Yeah.
Why a mule? Because it was shorter?
That's what she had.
Oh, that's all she had. Wow. And I guess
But
it
she
was
was tough,
shorter.
and she raised her kids tough, and that's how Sunny Hale became so great. She had a tough growing up life, and it showed in her play and her passion for the sport, actually.
Well, there's a photo of her on a horse that's just unbelievable. I picked up the magazine because last Sunday that's where I was. And it was just sort of on a lark that I went, and I was lucky because it was the last of a series of games called 12 Goal.
Yeah,
and we'll get
that's
to
the handicap.
the difference, and we'll talk about handicaps and all that stuff and how it's played and how you can participate and exactly what is going on in a polo game. And again, this is the best bang for your buck in all of Ventura and Santa Barbara County in terms of entertainment. So we're going to back up a little bit.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, so much fun. Now, you've been in it your entire life, but we're going to start with your dad.
Sure. Hopefully
Okay.
I know enough about my dad.
Well, let's start with his name
Okay,
and how he started in polo and where he took it.
Well, Danny Shiraga, he grew up in Ithaca, New York, and the way he says it is, he grew up watching the Lone Ranger and wanting to ride a horse, and he'd beg his dad to take him, and the only thing that was around was the polo team at Cornell. And so he took some lessons there, and eventually after a brief stint at Wisconsin, he said that, it was during the Vietnam era, the tear gas was too heavy for him. He came back to Cornell and started playing polo. And from there, after he graduated, they needed a leader, and he became the coach.
So when did you come along?
Well, during his coaching days, he was able to put together a strong enough women's team, and one of the players on that team was my mom, and they won a national championship. And he said he waited till after she graduated to ask her out. So,
how about
if
that?
not for collegiate polo, I wouldn't exist. So,
how about
I think
that?
it's appropriate that I'm trying to start collegiate polo here in Santa Barbara.
Yes, he just arrived here in April.
Yep.
So the timing is perfect because you're going to find all about the academy he's starting up there at the Polo Grounds, and you can get your kids involved. It's a very, very cool new sport, and you get your little girls involved. I've loved that your dad started a women's team.
I don't think, well, maybe he started it. Him and Dirk Terlouw started women's polo at Cornell, and they were one of the first women's college teams.
And this was in New York, of course.
Yep, Cornell, Ithaca, New York.
And then he took it to Florida at some point in time. Did you mention yesterday?
No, he's been in Florida because he worked for the USPA and now the PTF. He's run for, I don't know, probably 20 years. He's been the executive director of that. And Wellington, Florida is the mecca of polo in the United States. That's where the highest level of polo is played. And because of that, that's where he works quite often. But he also works in upstate New York.
Still, he's working.
Yeah, he works and runs his own polo club, Preble Valley Polo Club.
That's cute. So you started as sort of a mini-me barn manager, if you will?
No, I wouldn't say manager. I mean, I was just running around the polo club there. I wanted nothing to do with polo after growing up around it. But eventually, the only way I could get a job was, grooming horses, and I would work for my dad's friends and picking up the poop and grooming the horses. And eventually, they're like, "Here, just try hitting a ball." And once I did that, it was all over.
And how old were you
so
at that
fun.
time?
I was about 15 years old.
And you regret not starting earlier,
I do.
I
I
think,
regret
right?
not starting earlier because I would be that much better. But I enjoy it so much. There's no regrets.
So you played polo all your life, New York, Florida. Now you're here in California.
Yeah.
How did you find out about this polo field here in California?
Well, it kind of started. I when I graduated from the University of Connecticut, I was playing there, and really, I wasn't really inspired with where my college degree was taking me. I wasn't the best student, but I did graduate a psychology major. But I don't think I wanted to become a social worker or anything. So when someone from the USBA called me up and said there was a job available for me in California, I took it and ran. And I was headed to the Bay Area, and I worked for a club manager up there. And that was pretty rough. That manager didn't really have stuff together, and all the people weren't being paid, so I had to quit pretty quick after that, and had to get the only job I knew that I could get, and the economy was very bad in 2010, if we remember.
Sure.
So I went around delivering hay bales on a truck, delivering 300 bales a day. I got in shape, but didn't make very much money.
Well, that's a lot of hay. My goodness.
All over the state.
All over the state. That's
that
amazing.
area of the state, anyway, in San Jose.
That's where the polo field is there.
Mm-hmm.
And besides Santa Barbara, is there one down in south of us anywhere?
Yeah, well, there was the San Diego Polo Club, but I think that's become more of a soccer field lately. But the main polo in California is played in the Palm Desert in Indio, California. There's Empire Polo Club and El Dorado Polo Club, and they have, I think, over 30 fields together, and it's really an amazing place. But
30?
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest area for polo here, but the highest level is played right here in Santa Barbara.
Highest level?
Yeah, we have 16 goal polo in Santa Barbara, and that's the highest level of polo on the West Coast.
Meaning that's the total amount of goals you score in a game?
No, it's the total number of handicap of the players on each team. So players are ranked from -2 to 10 goals, and that's just our ranking system, and that's how we make teams even.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that in just a second, but I want to go back in time a little bit. So what is the youngest age someone can start polo, or you would recommend them to start polo, and the minimum height?
Well, I usually say that you got to be at least 7 years old to join my school, but there are definitely kids younger than that are starting polo, and there's really no minimum height.
Okay.
Maybe more than 2 feet tall, I don't know.
Well, I was just touring the facility yesterday, and I saw about 250 horses, which is about 2/3 of the capacity of that field.
It is.
And they were all huge. So these little kids get up on those big horses.
I wouldn't call them huge, actually. Our polo ponies tend to be smaller than a lot of what the hunter jumpers are riding and things like that. Our horses range from about 15 to 15.3 hands is the average horse. And usually the hunters and the jumpers and the dressage people are riding 16 and up to 17 hands.
Well, they look so studly and so fit. They look huge to me, I got to say.
They're
especially
in
if I
incredible
was
shape.
like 7 years old. That you want the 7-year-olds on a horse that's 15.
Yeah,
they start on that
we try
size?
and start them on a little smaller, not only because they're a little easier to manage, but you can use a shorter polo mallet, which is easier to swing for a kid.
Oh, sure, that makes sense. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, we want a light mallet for little kids and ladies.
Well, I really want you all to go see this because the season just started early June, and it's going to go all the way through September, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a break right now because October.
Yeah, we have our last chance tournament October 7th. That's when everyone from around the state can come and play for a little bit of a better price at the Santa Barbara Polo Club. It's pretty fun.
I bet. Well, it's fun every single game.
Every single game is fun.
And I'm also going to tell you what the calendar is a little bit later in the game. But for those of you that don't know about polo, and we're not talking about water here, talking about horses.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. It's fun to simply watch them, of course, but you need to know a little bit about it. And it's very easy. I thought it was more complicated than it really is. First of all, what are periods of play called?
Called a chukker.
Now, why is it called a chukker? Where does that come from?
I think it's like an Indian or Pakistani word that started sounding a little bit different than chucker, and then the British made it sound like chucker, so it's called a chucker.
Chukka.
Yeah,
Chukka.
exactly.
All right. And there are 6 of these chukkers, which are basically sessions, if you will.
7.5 minutes.
And they're each 7.5 minutes long.
Yes.
Now, one of the things I was astonished to learn, too, is that each player has a minimum of 10 to 12 horses per game.
Now remember, this is a very high level of polo we're watching. When you're just getting into the sport, you don't need that many horses at all. 1 or 2 will work. But yeah, these players that are playing at a high professional level, they have a serious interest in keeping their horses safe and healthy. And if you play a horse too long at a high level, it's going to get tired and not be as efficient. So what they're doing is multiple times a game, they have a groom standing by, and they will actually jump from one horse to the other without even touching the ground and get right back into the game on a fresh horse, because the name of the game is speed and power. And when you start losing that, you got to switch your horse.
And they can sense when these big, massive, studly horses are getting a little tired.
They have incredible feel for their horses. They know their horses inside and out 100%.
So
these are top-level professionals that have been playing polo their whole life, and they're inside their horse, almost inside their head. They can feel it.
So they're running maybe 30 miles an hour for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I think they can get faster than 30.
Can they?
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
They look like they're floating on the field.
That's what a good athlete looks like.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Horse and rider looks like one. And they're ripping down the field, and we'll tell you how big those are in just a second, how large the field actually is. And then tearing back and forth, trying to score a goal. And so in just a couple of minutes would be the maximum that a horse could run?
At that level, yeah, 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3. Then you jump onto another horse and keep going.
Yeah, and oftentimes that horse will come back into the game. Sometimes horses, like the best horse a person owns, will play 2 minutes and then come back for another 2 and then come back for another 2 while they're resting.
And horses love to play, right?
They love it, yeah, absolutely. There's no other sport than polo that more naturally mimics the natural environment of a horse, where they're running.
What way?
Well, horses are very competitive social animals. They run around together and they bump into each other, and they stop and turn very quickly. And those are all the skills that are really desirable in a polo pony. And so when horses start playing polo, the only thing they got to really get used to is doing it with a rider on them. And that's what our training is involved, is getting horses comfortable with having a rider. Other than that, they do all this stuff naturally.
In herds, like wild horses running out in herds.
They're
already
their
basically
instinct. They're born with that. They're born with that.
Polo.
And if they don't like it, we don't force them into it. They'll probably go into another line of work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find that so interesting. And at what age can a horse start polo?
Probably around 3 or 4 years old will they start training, and they're most desirable around 5 or 6 to 8 years old.
And after 8, are they retired?
No, there's been 19-year-olds playing in the U.S. Open, so you can't put an age on it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very amazing.
But in general, probably after 10, they're done playing high goal level polo. And what's nice is they'll not be done with a job. They'll be sold to someone who plays a little less level of polo and be perfectly appropriate for that. And then later on, they'll go to a lower level and a lower level until they retire in their late 20s. My mother was playing a horse that was 28 years old.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, you personally have 15 horses that you brought to Santa Barbara.
Yep.
What's the average
Very
age
proud
of
them.
your herd?
Probably around 13, 14 years old. We prefer a little bit older horses. I've got horses that are as old as 23 years old because they're safe and they have a lot of experience. And that's what people who are new coming into the sport need, is a horse that's really confident and has all that veteran experience, so that takes the worry away from you trying to learn.
And we're talking about kids here, because your
kids and adults. I'll have people in their 60s come and learn for the first time. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Why not?
Fun.
As long as they're willing to give it a try, I'm willing to teach them.
Okay. Well, I'm in.
Sweet.
All right. So player school goals by using mallets. You've probably all seen those mallets, to hit the ball through the goalpost at each end of the field. Something like, soccer. Think of soccer, the way soccer works. Now, how long is this field and how wide?
Regulation polo field is 300 yards long by 150 yards wide. Technically, that's enough to fit 9 polo fields. Or,
Nine.
not polo fields, football fields.
So they're as long as and wide as 9 football fields.
That's right.
And there's 30 of these down in Palm Springs.
Yeah, at least.
Unbelievable. That's amazing.
But there's no more beautiful place than the polo fields at Santa Barbara.
Absolutely. There's a view of the ocean, the weather, the trees,
Yeah.
the whole environment.
I think it's the best facility in the country, if not the world.
And something like 86 acres?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remarkable place. So pretty. And the teams then switch goalposts after every goal. And the team with the most wins.
Team with the most goals wins.
Wins, yeah.
Be kind of a weird game if it was the other way around.
Wouldn't it ever? Now, in the best of your ability, can you start to try to explain handicaps? Because each team includes 4 players, and they're rated. USPA rates their handicaps. So beginners start with what?
Well, if you're brand new to the game and we don't really think you should be playing in tournament level yet, we rate you as a -2. Now, it's kind of sad to call someone a -2, so we have A, B, and C ratings. So a C would be a -2, a B would be a -1, and an A would be a 0. Most amateurs get up to an A or maybe a 1 in their entire career. So
meaning that when they get on the field, they have a
handicap of like -2 or -1 or 0. If you're a -2, you're technically not supposed to play in a tournament. That's a rating that's given to a beginner who's like entry level learning. And we will have tournaments for those people, specifically the PCAL, which is Pacific Coast Arena League. Arena polo is a really safe way to enter the game. And we have a flight that's called the Sea Flight that anyone can join in, and it's a great way to step up into the sport of polo. And we have it right here in Santa Barbara. We go down to the California Polo Club and up to the Central Coast Polo Club in Los Osos.
Fun.
Yeah, it's
fun.
great.
So it's like golf. You start the game with a handicap.
Sure. Yeah, you could compare it to golf, very much so. But the handicaps add up to the team aggregate handicap. So let's say we have 4 one-goal players. We would be a 4-goal polo team. Has nothing to do with how many goals you would score. In fact, you could have a 10-goaler that scores 0 goals in a game because they are playing on the defensive end of the field. But because they are so good at stopping people, they have a rating of 10 goals.
Oh, I see. So the finest professional player may be awarded. And that's the highest?
Yeah, and there's only 10 or 11 of those in the world.
Oh, really? Wow. Are they mostly Argentine?
They're 100% Argentine, I believe.
That's what I thought, yeah. Because they'll play 40-goal games, right?
In Argentina.
Yeah.
Yeah, or we'll have 40-goal exhibition games in the United States, but they're not as competitive. The Argentine Open is the most competitive polo in the world. It's played in Palermo in Buenos Aires, and that is the holy grail of the polo tournaments.
Have you been there?
Yes, I have, and it's amazing. It looks like a polo game with the fast-forward button pressed down. It doesn't make sense to my brain, but it's amazing to watch.
I bet, because it always looks like that to me already.
But if you come to Santa Barbara and you see this 12-goal for the first time and you've never seen polo, that's what it's going to look like to you. It's the most explosive sport you've ever seen, and you don't really have to know the rules to enjoy it. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, but we're going over kind of the basics here.
Sure.
So the numbers on the players' uniform signal their position. So there's 4 players on each team, and so they're numbered, obviously. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. So what does number 1 do?
The 1 is the most offensive player, and they call that the optimist. They run to where the ball should land. And
optimist.
Yeah, they play as if the team is going to have the best shot. So they run up forward, and without that 1 pulling the team forward, there's really no reason to pass the ball at full length hits. So it's really important, and what that does is it spreads out the defense. It forces a defender to go back there too.
Okay, and then the number 2
is just a little less offensive than the number 1, and they also cover the best player on the other team, which is the 3. The 3 is the quarterback of the team. They control the ball 90% of the time.
Oh, I see. So your number 1 is your scout. Your number 3 is your strongest and most experienced.
Yeah, and your number 2 is probably your best defender, even though they're in an offensive position, because they have to cover that 3. So everyone covers the opposite player. So a 1 would cover the 4 would cover a 1, a 2 would cover a 3 would cover a 2.
Wow.
Because that's kind of where they're naturally being placed on the field. But your numbers do not have anything to do with where you have to be like say the rules. Like I believe soccer, if you're a forward, you can't come all the way back and things like that. In polo, you can go wherever you want at any time. So it's a very free-flowing game, and you might find yourself out of position frequently, and that's where the skill of the team comes in, is how well they rotate into different positions and switch their roles, really.
That's fascinating.
Playing. Yeah.
So they can switch the roles if they have to based on where the ball
They
is?
constantly are switching their roles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So the number actually can it's a general suggestion.
And so far, obviously, primarily handles defense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy, if you have a forward that's running through the goal all the time, that's pretty bad, because now when the ball gets turned around, there's no one back there to stop a run. And we don't have goalies.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So you need that forward to sit back there, or we're going to be in trouble.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So here's how you can participate. This is kind of the fun part. Halfway through the game, after 3 chukkers, remember those are sessions, there's a 10-minute break. Everybody from the stands starts to run out to the field. It's really amazing. And they're usually all dressed up in very, very gay apparel.
The divot stomp.
The divot stomp, right. Now, the divot stomp means, because the divots, like in golf, made the grasses kind of burned up by the horses or chipped up.
Oh, yeah,
by
those
the
horses are stopping and turning full power. They're tearing that field up. So I forget the guy's name, and I regret it now, but in about 1900, one of the groundskeepers in New York figured out a great way to keep his fields in shape, and that was to invite the crowd at halftime out onto the field to stomp those divots back in.
And everybody does.
A social event. Yeah, it's a lot
very
of fun.
cool. So you cannot wear high heels. You go out there
No, it
in
doesn't help.
flat sandals and shoes, and you just stomp the whole field down for the next half of the play.
It's amazing. When
It
you get
is.
100 people out there, it takes about 10 minutes, and the field's perfect.
Yeah, it is. And you can take your drinks out with you, your margaritas, your champagne. It's really, really a fun way to participate. And guess what? Not only is this free during the week, but it's only $10 on Saturday to participate with all this.
Yeah,
And it's
and
also
on
really
Fridays
good
we
for
have a happy hour at 4 o'clock, and you can come and get $5 margaritas right at the polo field. And anyone's invited as long as you're over 21.
And you are you don't pay admission to that one. That
I don't
Fridays
think
are
you do.
free.
Yeah,
Fridays are
pretty sure
perfectly
it's free.
You get a $5 drink. You go out and stomp the divots halfway through
How
the
can
game.
you beat it?
You cannot.
Bring
That's
your
why
girlfriend or boyfriend there.
Yeah, bring everybody. Come on down. It's really, really a fun thing to do, and it's family friendly too. You don't have to be over 21 to come
Very
to the game.
relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's not what you think. It's not stuffy. It's
Not
fun.
at all. And it's fun to see all the little kids out there stomping the divots. They
And swinging
just
their little
love-
short mallets there.
Yeah, it's really, really cute. All right, at this time in my show, we normally take a break, and we're going to do that with the Shoemaker Brothers, and we're going to come back and thank somebody very cool for their service in World War II.
Fell in love with a dancing girl. Fell so hard that it rocked my world. Headed off to a place in Iraq, and that man that she loved never made it back. Take me out on a starry night, butterfly under my thumb. If you come out and play with me.
All right, Jeff Sharaga, my guest from Santa Barbara Polo Fields, has a really interesting family background, first of all. But his father was in the Vietnam War, apparently, so we thank him for that.
No, he was not in the Vietnam
no?
War. He avoided the Vietnam War by
avoided
going to college.
By going to college. Oh,
Sorry to throw you under the bus, Pops.
Oh, no, that's all right. I just missed that because earlier you were talking about how...
he was on the campus where the tear gas was being shot all over.
That's what it
Wisconsin.
was. Okay,
Yeah.
that's where I missed it. But your grandpa, your mother's father, fought in World War II, and this is a gnarly story. So tell us what branch service he's with, where he was, and what kind of a fight.
Yeah, he was in the Philippines, and I can probably talk about it now since he's passed. But he had a scar on his leg from hand-to-hand combat, and he says it was a guy who used his own. He had a knife on him, and he used his own knife against him. And obviously, my grandfather came out on the winning side of that because he was there to make a family, and the other guy wasn't. So,
what's his name?
Bill Burgess.
Bill Bridges?
Burgess.
Yeah. Burgess. Bill Burgess.
Full name, William Edward Hunter Armstrong Burgess.
Wow, that's a long name. My goodness. Say that one more time.
William Edward Hunter Armstrong Burgess.
Thank you very much for your service, sir, and your family.
Yeah.
All right, over at the Wharf. Do you know about the Wharf yet? Because you're sort of new to this area.
No, I haven't been.
Oh, this is the biggest barn in the whole area. And they've got everything you could possibly look for, casual, Western, and workwear. They got the best selection of work boots in I don't know, California.
Well, I'm going.
Feed, saddlery, pet supplies, everything you need right here at the Wharf. You can find them at wharfonline.com, Facebook. They have a page, Instagram. But they go down to 980 Front Street. They're open Monday through Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 5. I'll give you this so you remember to go there. Because everything horse in the world you could find is there.
Very cool.
Yeah, it is. Okay, and as you know, the Ventura Music Festival, the 23rd season starts July 13th through the 16th, and then again the 21st to the 23rd. VenturaMusicFestival.org or 805-648-3146 is where you're going to find tickets. This year's really cool. We have the John Jorgensen Bluegrass Band. We have a giant jazz piano, Roger Kellaway. We've got the Anderson Rowe piano duo, Navi Mehta and his friends. And there's a cool tribute to Leonard Cohen this year, who passed away last year. So a lot to do. We love this. We always support the Ventura Music Festival, and you should too. Check it out. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do when you're not going to the polo games. So if you're just tuning in, stop doing that. You need to stay tuned in all the time to News Talk 1590 KBTA. I'm Lynn Fairley, and my guest today is Jeff Shiraga, and we've been talking everything polo, all things polo. Now, Jeff's new here in Ventura, and he's starting an academy up in Santa Barbara at the polo fields, which is just a short drive. It took me half an hour yesterday to get there. Beautiful drive, too. And when I arrived, I noticed that the grounds were closed, and they were scalping the field. So tell us what scalping is and why they do that.
Yeah, because after a long season, which, they've been playing polo on these fields for 2 months now, really hard play. The field's all torn up, but the grass, when you cut the top layer down, the root system grows out instead of down, so it's able to kind of fill in all those patches and holes. So if you give it a week, it'll be right back to perfect.
But Natalie told us yesterday the root system, being as old as it is actually 15 feet deep.
Yeah, every blade of grass has a 15-foot root.
And these blades are
it's incredible,
minuscule, like smaller than your...
Very fine. It's Bermuda grass, and I'm not an expert on it, but I know it's a special kind of Bermuda grass that is, it's the envy of the world. Everyone wants our grass.
It kind of reminded me of a putting green yesterday, but it's not quite as delicate as a putting green.
Because we would tear up a putting green pretty badly, but it's perfect for polo. It is the best fields in the world.
Well, Natalie said something funny yesterday. She said it's all about the grass. You know that song, It's All About the Pace? It's all about the grass.
It is. It really is. And that's why we have teams coming in, not just the weather, but we have the best fields in the world.
Now, scalping also included mounds and mounds and mounds of sand.
Yes.
So what are they doing with all that sand? There's piles of sand everywhere.
The sand really helps with the traction of the field, and you'll be amazed how much sand you need to put on a 300 by 150 yard polo field, and it's hundreds of tons
on just one of those fields.
Yeah, and we have 3.
Yeah.
So it's just hundreds and hundreds of tons of sand, and that gives the horses the grip they need so they don't slip and fall in a hard turn.
So they scalp it kind of by giving it a haircut, then they lay down the sand, and it all just grows back in 1 week? Because I know you start again in July 7th. Yeah, it doesn't take
long. Technically this grass is a weed, but it's a nice weed.
It's a beautiful weed.
It produces some of the nicest fields in the world, and also we have the best grounds crew in the world. Shout out Sergio.
Shout out. And he lives right there on the property.
He does, and he's one of the best grounds crew managers in the world as well. So that's why we're able to have. That's our main asset is our fields. We have the best fields. So
and the weather. Wow.
Best weather and best view.
Best everything.
We got the mountains and the ocean right there.
And we're going to have the best academy thanks to you, Jeff Shiraga.
Thank you very much.
So it turns out you can be any age. You can be 7 or you can be 60.
Yep.
And you can come to your school.
You can, and we're going to teach you the basics of polo, and we have basically all the levels of polo that you need, from very beginning coaching league in the arena, advancing all the way up to being able to play on the grass field in a coaching league, and then all the way up into what we call pro pool, where you're playing in leagues with professional players.
Wow.
And then once you're ready to go into the professional level, it's 8-goal, 12-goal, and 16-goal polo. So this is the only place in the world where you can start out without even knowing how to ride a horse to basically the highest level on the West Coast.
And how long does this take? In other words, is this a summer academy, year-round?
This is year-round. I am at the Santa Barbara Polo Club year-round. So if you are dedicated enough, you can become a polo player right here. And I'm going to give you everything you need. We have the horses. We have equipment. Anything you need, just show up. Make sure you have to bring your own helmet and footwear.
You got the horses.
Other than that, I will take care of the rest.
There's
no
also
problem. Very
a wonderful
safe.
little shop, kind of a gift shop, but it's not really a gift shop.
It's not a gift
supply
shop. It's a pro shop.
Yeah, it's thank you. Sorry. Pro shop. And it's very nice. I'm going back to buy some
Jackson
stuff.
Hole.
That's the name of the pro shop.
Jackson Hole Horse Emporium. They've got some of the best polo equipment you can get, so you don't need to worry about where you're going to get everything you need. It's right at the Polo Club all summer long, and you won't go without what you need. If you come and you want to play polo, you can get all your gear right there and basically start playing.
So as people come, like if I came tomorrow, there'd be X amount of time until I get it. It's not a set time.
Yeah. It's going to be a little while. So if you already know how to ride, it's going to help a lot. You're going to get it a little quicker. But if you don't know how to ride, we got the people to teach you how to ride, and we have the horses to teach you how to ride, and you'll feel comfortable and safe because these horses are really well trained and they're very safe, and they're proven over many years. I've been doing lessons with these horses for years and years, and they've taught a lot of people. I'm really proud about that. So,
and you said to me, you can teach people quickly how to play. You get it.
Yeah, as long as you're
fast.
dedicated and you're willing to put in the work, I can teach you very quickly. And in general, I like to say I sell a package of 10 lessons to people. And by the end of that 10 lessons, you should be ready to start our coaching arena league.
That's amazing, actually. Wow. And how long is each lesson?
About an hour.
That's it?
Yeah.
In 10 hours, you're ready to play.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
You might not be too good, but you can play.
that's
the thing.
just fun. Yeah.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Once you start playing, you'll start picking it up real quick.
Now, you told me it's a little bit like the strategy, anyway, of the game is a little bit like dogfighting in an airplane.
Yeah.
Or maybe basketball. So use these analogies to explain.
Okay, so for dogfighting an airplane, I believe because we need to be able to stop and turn very quick. And as we know, the kind of dogfighting in an airplane, whoever is turning sharper is going to get on the other guy's six. The other way it is like that is we have to be very accurate once we have the ball and shoot right on our target. And those moments are very minuscule, so we have to take advantage of that time when we actually have the ball. When you're playing polo properly, you don't actually have the ball for very long. You take your opportunities when you get them and you execute. And then lastly, they say in dogfighting is if you lose sight, you lose the fight. And in polo, beginners are always looking at the ball, which is wrong. You need to look at your opponent. And once you lose your sight of your opponent, you probably lost the fight.
I'll be darned. And so is it similar to basketball? You don't have the ball very long, and you're running back and forth. I think
the team aspect of basketball is very similar. Well, number one, at the highest level, you're going to see a lot of what they do in NBA basketball, which is pick and rolls. Another player is going to come and set a pick on their primary defender, and the ball handler is going to break left or right depending on where that pick comes from. And then once they've made that pick, the action starts because the defender is going to either break off and come towards the ball handler or stay with the defender, and that's going to create the action. So if that defender breaks off and comes towards the ball handler, he's going to have a passing opportunity to that open man who just set the pick, just like basketball, pick and roll.
So who's your favorite basketball team? Would you have one?
Well,
is that hard?
I don't want to admit it, but it's the New York Knicks.
That's all right. No, you're from New York.
Carmelo Anthony.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
I have a horse named Carmelo.
Do you really?
Yep.
What kind of horse?
He's a quarter horse, and I named him in about 2004, right after Carmelo won the championship for the Syracuse Orangemen.
Is he as fast as Carmelo?
Yeah.
Very cool. How old is Carmelo the horse?
Carmelo the horse is about 15 years old.
Wow. Very cool. I want to meet Carmelo. So there's, just like in basketball, there's, they're called umpires.
Umpires.
Right? So umpires are on the field at all time in a polo field. And how many of them are there?
Two on the field, and then you have a referee on the sideline.
Oh.
The third man is called a referee.
On a horse?
No.
Standing,
usually at center of field, and when the umpires disagree, they go to the third man to break the tie.
I see. Is he got binoculars? Because that feels so large.
That's usually an experienced guy who knows what he's looking at.
Okay, somebody
doesn't
who's...
need binoculars.
Are you an umpire?
Yes. Professional certified umpire for the USPA.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we see you out there at Santa Barbara?
You do.
Oh, all right. Good. Be nice to see you play. So you're just basically running back and forth, watching the game and trying to stay out of the way?
So because the game of polo focuses around the line of the ball, all the players need to follow the direction that the ball is going. The line creates kind of a divider like there would be on a highway, where players have to pick one side or the other of that line. And because the ball isn't static, it's constantly moving, so is that line. So all the players have to be moving. The umpire is trying to stay dead on that line so they can watch. So there's one official on the line, and there's one 90 degrees on the side to watch the gaps to see how close players are coming in, if they are safely entering the line or not. So that's called the focal umpire, and one umpire's on the line, and they have to be a team to keep their positioning proper so that they can keep their eye on the play the whole game and see everything perfectly.
So what's an example of a foul in polo?
Well, like if you're on the highway and you're driving in your lane and someone cuts you off, that's a foul, just like polo. So if you're in your lane and someone cuts you off, it's a foul.
Okay. And that could cause injuries not only to the rider but the horses, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything that causes danger is a foul. And the higher level of polo, those gaps are smaller because the skill is so much higher. So anything that is dangerous for the horse, that's number one. So that's going to be a foul. Second, the rules are written for danger of the players. And then third is kind of just for fairness and things like that. But they care
mostly about the horse, more than the riders.
Than the players, for sure, because the horse didn't necessarily have a choice to go out there, but the players did.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense to me, actually.
And that's the thing, is horsemanship is the ultimate in polo. We care about the horses very deeply.
Oh, that's so cool. That's nice. Okay, wow, so nice. So how would you begin to describe the cage? I got to go into the cage.
The hitting cage.
And it's like a batting cage in
it's
in the sense that it's fenced in.
Yep.
And it's closed. And in the middle of it is this very darling, looks like it's made out of like a whiskey barrel or something originally, but it looks like, it's a wooden horse.
It's a wooden horse.
A static wooden horse.
Well, we like him because he won't buck you off and he won't get running too fast.
he's
and
definitely
you can hit him with
nowhere.
the mallet without feeling bad.
He's going nowhere. He's definitely a wooden horse.
Great way to learn. So
and he's in a cage, but describe the ground of the cage. It's not flat.
Yeah, that particular cage was developed by Billy Linfoot and very prominent polo family, the Linfoot family. And that cage is called the Linfoot cage. It has ramps in front and behind with gutters. So every time you hit the ball, it'll roll into one of those gutters and feed it perfectly back to you. So it's a great way to learn without having to chase a ball around. And you can learn all the angles of the shots you need to take without needing to know how to ride yet, because you don't really need very many riding skills to ride the wooden horse.
Not at all.
And I often say in polo, we have an unwritten rule that if you fall off the horse, you owe everyone who saw a case of beer. If you fall off the wooden horse, you owe 2 cases of beer.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you fall off that wooden horse, man, you really have got something going wrong. Maybe you're fainting.
I've seen it.
You have? Well, you also get to improve your form there on the wooden horse.
Absolutely.
Which includes this really tough move where you've got the reins in your hand, because you cannot be left-handed in play polo.
You're allowed to be left-handed, but you need to swing with your right hand.
All right, so you have to play with your right hand, I guess.
Yeah. My dad's left-handed, and he became a pretty good player, so don't let it discourage you.
All right, sorry. I meant to say you can only swing, you can play with the mallet only with your right hand.
That's right.
Okay. So you're holding onto the reins with your left hand. So you have to get a shot on the left side of the horse, way toward the rear quarter end of the horse somehow, and move it away from you, which means you're leaning way,
Yeah, you have to
way
twist
over
your
the
body and
horse.
swing the mallet on the left side of the horse, and that's a real challenge for beginners, but I will teach you how at the Santa Barbara Polo Academy.
Very, very cool. And that's why we're here, is to promote that. And so how do they sign up? How do they find you? Is there a website? Do they call? How do they find you?
They can email me at jeff@sbpolo.com.
Jeff spelling Jeff.
Yep, at
Yes.
sbpolo.com.
Okay.
They can check me out at Jeff Sharaga Polo on Facebook.
Sharaga, how do we spell that?
SCHERAGA. Yep.
And that's at Facebook?
Yep.
And
And I'm sure they can find me on sbpolo.com as well
Okay.
on the website. But you should email me if you're interested in playing polo. A lesson is $150. I have the horse for you. Or you can buy a 10-pack, which I recommend if you actually want to learn how to play. It's $12.50.
And that's including everything except for the helmet and the shoes.
That's right. Bring your own helmet and shoes. I'm not going to be liable for your head.
And you go. Do you have to sign all these waivers that you could?
Yeah, it's just two waivers.
Like scuba diving.
It's not a lot of paperwork,
Okay.
and it's a lot of fun. So,
And how often do you recommend going?
2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Okay. Interesting. Because that'll keep you up on your skills.
that'll
and so
keep you up. You don't forget too much.
Yesterday, I saw a young man. He's probably 15 years old, who you say is one of your better students.
Yeah.
And he was taking a giant mare. In my opinion, that was a huge horse.
It was.
And
That's one of my new green horses. So green horse is a horse that hasn't been trained yet. It's new to the sport. And he's helping me train that horse because I trust his skills after having helped train him. So
he's only 15,
oh,
so
he's excellent.
He's on his own horse.
Yep.
Then he has that big horse, and he had another smaller horse. So he's total of 3 horses.
Yep.
By himself.
Yep.
And he was walking him around in an arena
And
that you don't
he was
really
wearing
see.
a helmet.
Oh yeah, he was, and some boots. Didn't have a mallet.
Nope.
And this is up above, behind the polo fields where the school is, where there's an arena
Yeah, world-class polo arena. One of the
with an
biggest
ocean
ones.
view.
Yeah, you can't beat it.
And he's out there walking these horses around in circles in this dirt arena.
Yep.
What was he doing?
That's called ponying or taking out a set. That's a way of exercising multiple horses at the same time, and it has a lot of value because we have a lot of horses, and if you ride one singular horse, you're going to spend a lot more time. You might not have enough hours in the day, so we have to take out sets to keep these horses in shape. And the other thing it does for young horses is it gets them used to moving in a crowd, which is really important in polo, that they don't get aggravated and kick each other or anything like that because they're nervous. So they get calm, they get used to riding with a herd, and that's a great way of doing it. And it's also a good way of teaching young people how to ride because to balance holding multiple horses in your hand teaches you a lot of skill.
Oh, that's very interesting. My goodness. Then there was another arena I saw up there in the back that had 2 tracks, an inside track and an outside track.
Yeah, that's our track.
Okay,
So it's about a quarter-mile track, and that's an exercise track, and that's where all the pros and the pros' grooms go out to exercise their horses. And those guys can have as many as 3 or 4 horses on a side. They're so skilled. And so they'll take, 7 to 9 horses out at a time.
at once.
By one man.
So one guy's
Or
saddled,
woman.
and there's 4 horses on this side, 4 horses on this
Absolutely.
side, and they're running together. Running?
Yeah,
running.
they can be running. Absolutely.
that's
Usually we'll be
unbelievable.
trotting. That's the best gait for exercising, but they'll canter, they'll gallop, they'll do all the gaits. And that's important that horses do all the different gaits because it works different muscle groups. And as you saw in polo, the horses need to be extremely fit and agile.
Oh, they're so
we need
buffed.
to work every muscle group that's possible.
That's amazing. And you feed them differently. I noticed there was one guy there with just alfalfa in his stack
Yeah,
of hay.
yeah. So alfalfa's a little higher energy hay, and there's all different theories of how to feed horses.
Do they get snacks like apples and sugars and
Yeah, for
carrots
sure.
and stuff like that?
For sure.
Oh,
For
boy.
sure.
I think I'm going to be popular. I'm going to bring stuff like that.
Yeah, and you can use some snacks for training too, but I tend to not like to reward horses with that in that way.
Oh, just later on, sort of randomly give
Yeah.
them snacks?
Yep.
How do
Yep.
you reward them then?
I reward them by kind of relaxing the reins. So once the horse has done what I wanted, I give the reins back and let them relax as a reward, and that's a classical way of training horses.
Oh, very interesting.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite horse, or is that too hard of a question? No? Yeah, I would say that.
Well, my favorite horse is Rocky, and he's the one who I learned how to play polo on, and he's at the school teaching youngsters now. He's 23 years old, still going strong, and I bring him out at the halftime of every Sunday game, so you can come and see him.
Oh, good. What kind of horse is he?
He's a thoroughbred. Yep. He was on the track, and when my dad bought him, they said, we got to get him off the track because he likes running into the other horses too much. And so we thought that sounded pretty good for polo.
Sounded great. Actually liked running into the horses?
Yes,
he had sort of like a herd mentality, or
Yep.
he was just...
He was dominant. He would run into the other horses and push them around, just shoulder to shoulder, nothing dangerous. But that is what we do in sport of polo. That's how you gain position, is by performing a ride-off, which is it's important that you're at equal speeds with your opponent, but you are going to take your horse and push their horse out of the way.
So you need a dominant horse that'll do that.
Just a horse that's comfortable with close quarters and pushing, and we actually train them how to do that properly.
Because
and it takes several months,
and then
or they can learn the first day. It depends on the horse's personality. But yeah, a horse that does that better is definitely more desirable for the sport. We like that.
I think it's very fitting that you called him Rocky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Santa Barbara Polo and Racquet Club is located at 3300 Via Real.
You got it.
In Carpinteria. 805-684-6683 or sbpolo.com. Matches are played on Friday at 4 p.m. Free. You just go get that happy hour drink for $5 and make sure and go out and stomp divots.
And get a couple.
And Sundays at 3 p.m. it's only $10. Same thing. It's a real party atmosphere.
Yeah, they even have a little party afterwards.
They do. It's actually a big party, not
it's
a little
big
party
sorry.
with a DJ and dancing and the whole 9 yards. And the food is great there, by the way. The 12-goal series just ended last Sunday. Then they pick up again after they're done fixing the field with a 16-goal series for July and August, starting July 7th through 9th. And then there's another one, the 14th to the 23th. July 28th to the 6th of August. Then the Gulfstream Pacific Coast Open. Now, what is that? That sounds pretty...
That's the most prestigious trophy, second to the U.S. Open in the United States. And it's definitely the most prestigious trophy on the West Coast, and it's when we get our biggest crowd. And I don't know how many years they've been playing for it, but it's a big silver cup. And
Sounds exciting.
It's amazing. Some of the best players in the world will be there. And so if you want to experience polo, you need to come out to that.
I will. And then right after that, which I think is going to be a lot of fun, you'll be involved in this probably, is the USPA National Youth Tournament Series Championship.
Knights.
The Knights?
Yep, that's National Youth Tournament Series acronym.
Oh, okay. And that's September 13th, just one day?
Yep. All the youngsters from around, some of the best up-and-coming youngsters will come and play in that, and they will choose a couple of all-stars that will go to the national tournament from that tournament.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. And so kids from all over the nation
they
come to this to compete, and then they're chosen to go on.
Yeah, they compete, and then judges will and they'll have conference calls, and they'll talk about who the best players in the country are, and they'll have a national tournament. And I'm not sure where it is this year, but that's where all the best kids up and coming in the country will be.
Very cool. And then the 8-goal series starts September and October. So we're right here at the beginning of the series. The President's Cup, the Wickenden Cup, the Women's Tournament, September 14th to the 22nd. And as you mentioned earlier, the Last Chance Tournament, October 6th to the 8th. So we're just at the start of the season. I highly recommend this since it's free on Fridays and only $10 on Sundays.
Yeah, you might not know what you're missing. You got to come by and check it out. If for nothing else than a good drink and a fun atmosphere, but you're going to see a sport that you might not have even known existed, and it's pretty incredible. And you guys can start playing too. Just sign up with me.
The Polo Academy is here to teach this game to the would-be interested players.
That's right.
Jeff Shiraga, you're the man. Welcome to the Santa Barbara Polo Field. Since you've only been here,
3 months now, 90 days. I just sent in my 90-day report.
Wow, amazing. It looks like you're ready to go, and you already have some people signed up with you.
Oh, yeah, we're busy every day, but we welcome everyone. to come and try it out.
Please do. At least go watch it first and then connect with Jeff. You can find him all over, like we said. His own Facebook page, Jeff at sbpolo.com. All right, we're coming to the end of the show. Thank you very much, Tom Spence, for producing it, as always. And you have a safe and wonderful rest of your weekend.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Ed. Go right to the source and ask the horse. He'll give you the answer that you endorse. He's always on a steady course. Talk to Mr. Ed.